welcome back to our listening lesson. And in this lesson we will be hearing about 4 books, so we're gonna hear the summaries about each of these books. You will take some notes and then you will answer questions for these summaries. But before we start with the listening, I want to go through some of the vocab. We will just discuss it quickly. You should know most of them. For example, temptation, it means the wish to do or have something that you know you should not do or have. So I am tempted to do something. It means I have this urge to do it. I really feel like doing this thing. Culmination, the point at which an event or series of events ends, having developed earlier. So this is something related to book. Hold water, if a reason, argument, or explanation holds water, it's true. It's an expression that is used. Trawling, to search among a large number of places in order to find information you want. It's like researching. Whodunit, a story about a crime and the attempt to discover who committed it or who done it. That's where this word came from, and it's basically at the end of a book. They reveal who did this at the end. Jargon, special words and phrases that are used in a specific field, especially in their work. Empathy, you've heard this word a lot, you know it. The ability to share someone else's feelings or expressions by imagining their situation. And debut is the occasions when someone performs or presents something for the first time. I've also heard about that through music or some concerts or whatever. So we will be hearing about these 4 books that you have in front of you. You can take notes if you want, so you can relate which book is 1, 2, or 3, or 4. After that, we will listen to the track. You will listen twice or once, depending on how difficult the listening track is. But for now, take notes about these books so you know what book is each. Because in the questions you will have some like book 1. It doesn't mention like the name of the book. Okay, let's start by listening.
Clarice Montague, who we know from her more usual romance sagas, creates a fantastic world called Hakan, a believable place you can lose yourself in from page 1. I suspect this is the first in a series of books, so complete is the job the author does in making Hakan come alive, jump off the page in fact. It's always a temptation to dump information on the poor reader, page after page, of history or cultural signposts, but Montague resists this temptation. Instead, drip-feeding us the required information, page by page, chapter by chapter. Each gem of Hakan history is a delight to be savoured by the reader, gradually pulling them into this make-believe world. However, I must say that I think there is a little too much gratuitous violence and it's out of place. It really jars in places. I think this is a misstep, not only of the author, but of the editors and publishers. One scene at the culmination of the book was, in my opinion, totally ruined by a Hollywood star bloodbath. It was the only weakness for me in what was an otherwise enjoyable read.
However much I tried to enjoy this journey through a world after an imagined Russian victory in a 1980s World War III, I just felt there were too many plot holes. It didn't hold water, and I found myself scoffing with disbelief. What it did make me do, more often than I felt comfortable with, was trying to decide if the whole project was a satire. Alternative history is a very successful niche, but I felt Brad Peterson just overdid the melodrama and it came across as ridiculous. The story jumps around far too much, and this has the effect of unbalancing the reader in a most disconcerting way. Far too often I found myself trawling back pages and pages trying to find out who this drunk uncle or that disgraced general was. The portrayal of Moscow as the brash ground zero of a Soviet-centered world was breathtaking, something I felt the book could have done with a lot more of. If this book were a film, I would give the cinematography a sturdy 4 stars, but the whole thing is let down by a disappointing 2-star script.
What you don't expect to find in a murder mystery at the outset is a conversation between the bad guy and the lead detective charged with finding the bad guy. That usually happens towards the end, sometimes in a plain old police interview room, more often than not in a far more dramatic location, such as the roof of an old factory during a thunderstorm. But in this book, that conversation happens in the peace and quiet of a summer's meadow and within the first few pages of the book. It's just typical of what turns out to be a novel approach to the detective story. It seems that Clark Henson decided at the beginning of the writing process to turn everything we think we knew about the whodunit novel on its head. The result is a fresh, eye-opening read and one that will surprise you with far from cliched twists. There are no butlers in this one, nor private detectives sitting behind frosted glass cranking out the wisecracks. Henson also has a great ear for 1950s Chicago dialect and jargon. You'll feel yourself right there along with the protagonists.
Have you got a dream to be a hero? An actual hero, racing knowingly into a deadly situation, with a pretty fair chance it'll be the last action you take. This is the question posed early on in Brenda Faulkner's riveting Out of Time. And what makes this all so much more fascinating is that the question is not asked of a firefighter at the bottom of a burning building, or of a soldier readying himself to face bullets and bombs, but of an everyday man. John Richardson is an everyman, a you, a me, simply making his way through life, inching his way towards retirement and an inadequate pension. Faulkner paints the world of John Richardson with supreme detail and an assured touch. As he makes his big decisions, we take the ride with him, for Out of Time is a book of absolute empathy. It cannot fail to be. The book poses so many big questions that those outside the usual perimeter of power so rarely have to provide an answer for. It is a book that will leave you thinking long and hard, a taste that will linger on the tongue for weeks and may, as in my particular case, alter its tang. Faulkner's debut will come to be considered a classic when she has moved up to the mega fame that certainly awaits her.
Okay, by taking into consideration the notes you took, we're going to be answering these questions. So for book 1, the author is usually known for, so after the guy was speaking, he was explaining what the author is usually known for. So check your notes and that will show the answer in a few seconds. This should be like the first note you took basically. So longer books. And the question number 2, book 1, the reviewer liked the way that the author A. built the world of the book quickly, created the book's universe, or kept the action going page after page. It's created the book's universe. Question number 3, it's about the second summary of the second book. The weak point of the book is the plot. The plot is basically how the events are going. Book 2, the reviewer enjoyed the way location was used, or the cinematography, or the drunk uncle character. The way location was used. Now it's about book 3. In what ways does the reviewer see this as a novel? A, it's not stereotypical, the way weather is used or the background of the lead detective. It's not stereotypical, so it's different, it's authentic. Book 3, which words best describes how the dialogue reads? Authentic, tough, or naive? Check your notes for a few seconds. You should have also taken that. So it's authentic. Question number 7 about book 4. Why does the reviewer describe the novel as empathetic? A, we understand the protagonist's actions. The protagonist is like us. Or C, the protagonist is poor and not powerful. The protagonist is like us. B. Last question is, what may the reader do after finishing the book? So A, fail to understand it. B, copy the hero's actions. Or C, change their opinion of it. And the answer is C, change their opinion of it. Thank you for listening today. We had reading and listening. We will continue next week again, and now you have your other levels. Enjoy watching it. See you next week.